Hello there. And I did it again. There we go. All right. Sorry about that. So today we are going to today having volume issues here. I apologize. Today we are going to make coasters. We're going to use some of the fabric that we have left over from different projects. So this is Halloween, and then we have some squares that are also Halloween. That's not going to work because those are scraps, but we have some more Halloween and some bigger Halloween. Never did cut any of these up. So that's going to be there. That's too small. This is Thanksgiving, and it's a fat quarter. And there's a fat quarter. There's some more fat quarters. And then we have charm squares. That's a scrap. That's a fat quarter. So we're going to do a bunch of different coasters. I've got 4 different styles here. I'm not certain how far along we'll get with them today. We may not do all 4. A lot of little scraps here. All right, and then these are larger squares, just like Halloween had some larger squares. They're not quite fat quarters, but they're close. And let's see here. Goes in that stack. These are all just smaller scraps. And let's see here. There we go. All right. So hold on just a minute. Nope, that's not working either. All right. So we're having screen problems again, which I have all the time, so it's no big deal. All right. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to use some charm packs, or charm squares. So this one is a little bit wider. It's not going to be a square. It's going to be sort of a rectangle. And that way you have room, the way it worded it was, you have room to put a drink and a small snack. So that's what we're going to make first. And I'm looking and I'm thinking we're going to use the Halloween stuff. But so this is what scraps do. You can find some scraps and make mug rugs with them. I call them coasters, but you can call them whatever you want. Let's see here. That's that and that. All right. So I have some squares here, and the pattern shows that it's going to make 2 mug rugs. I could just make 1, but I'm going to go ahead and make 2 because why not? Let's look at what I have, and let's see. I have flying bats. And I have 2 of those. I also have a string that wants to hang around here. Okay. So I could do that. And I have 1 flying bat that is black. So I can use those 3. And then I have these greens. And let's see here. I have spiders. And spiders. And spiders. There we go. Let's see, what else do I have? Now, let's do this the opposite way. Okay. And let's see here. Last but not least, and I love stuff like this because it just gets rid of extra stuff that's lying around. And I hate not using all of a pack. I don't know if I like that because now I have 3 of them that are white with the dark. Do I have a way to make? I do not. All right, well, then I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to do this. I'll just make the 2 of them. And get 2 done. All right, let's go to the sewing machine. All right, now lower the speed on my sewing machine to 1.5 stitches. Lower the speed, lower the stitch length. There we go. We take 1. This is the fastest we've ever gotten sewing. Yep, not even 10 minutes into it. Okay. And this is my starter fabric. Set the needle down. When you start sewing, you usually start sewing a little bit in from the edge. So in order to make sure that the seam goes all the way off the edge, you use some starter fabric to get it going. Second one, I want to make sure the bats are facing the right direction because they are directional. Okay, now let's do the second part of this. third one of this one. Come on. There we go. Make sure the bats are facing the right direction, otherwise you'll have upside down bats. Which I guess isn't a problem because bats do tend to sleep that way, but they're flying right in the fabric. All right. So we cut off our starter fabric and our threads, our tail threads, whatever you want to call them. They're the things, my machine cuts my fabric for me, or thread for me, and that's the stuff that's left over. And normally when I'm doing chain piecing, I leave these together, but it doesn't make any difference. Oh, and I just realized this is in the way. This is my bag of batting pieces. So just like I have scraps of fabric, I also keep scraps of batting, and that's what we're going to be using, but it shouldn't be sitting there in the way of the screen. Not me. Put it under there, that way. Okay, sorry. So now I'm going to take my pieces that I've sewn together, and I'm going to press them. And in this case, I am going to press to the dark colors, and it's going in opposite directions, but it really doesn't matter. You can press whichever way you want. Now, looking at this pattern, I would say that you should use contrasting, just like I did here. Let's see, this came from, I do not have a name. Nope, it doesn't have any information on it. All right. I actually don't know if any of them have the information on it. They were from Pinterest. And in all honesty, I'd seen all of them in the past. I've actually made, so truth be told, because I've always mentioned that here I tend to do things live that I've never done before. I have made the ones that have, they're 4 pockets. It's a pocket and you can twist the wine glass into it. I am going to try a different twist on it today with a, making them into a circle, which looked really cool. And we are only going to run for about 2 hours today, if that long, especially considering how fast these first ones are coming together. But I shouldn't say that. We still have to sew them and flip them and quilt them and all that good stuff. So we're not done yet. And remember, black fabric gets really hot. Darker fabric absorbs the heat from the iron, and so when you go to touch it, it's hot. And I am now holding this back piece and pulling it a little bit, making it a little taut, so that I make sure that the seams are as crisp as they can be. Now, is this vitally important in this particular activity? Probably not. But it's a habit, and I always do it. All right, let's see here. So I have all three pieces. Let's see, they started at 5 inches, so they should be 4.5. It's just slightly less than 4.5 inches. No, it's actually, yeah, up here it's, oh, it's because I'm turning the ruler, not, there we go. No, it's still off. So it does appear that when I did this seam, it did not stay completely straight at 1/4 inch. Down here, it's right on the 1/2 inch mark. Up here, and there we go, it's just slightly off. So that's what happens when you don't sew a straight line. Either way, this is about 4.5. So we are going to cut it at 2 1/4. Oops, let's go this way. Helps if I put it on the right side, on the correct side, I should say. 2 1/4 inches. And now we have our 2 pieces of that one. And then let's go back to here. And we're going to press these. And again, I'm going to press towards the dark, which in this case is now the outside instead of the inside. You can use batting. You can use fleece. And somebody mentioned the stuff you use when you want it to be a pot holder. For this size, I think that would be silly. Actually, this one I guess could be, because this is going to be rectangular. This is going to be a little bit bigger than what I normally make as a coaster. But I don't think I would put the whatever it's called, it's over there. I just can't think of the name of it. That's why I keep looking over there. I'm like, it's over there, but I can't see it. But it's what you use if you want to make something into a pot holder. But should use cotton fabric. That's going to absorb the moisture from the condensation from a cup. So that way, if someone has a beverage that has ice in it and the ice is melting, then you're going to get condensation on the cup, and you don't want that to get onto the table. So that's why you use this, and the cotton fabric will absorb the moisture. And I also am using cotton batting because that's just what I use. I've made one thing that I used. I happened to find some acrylic batting in my closet, which has obviously been with me for a very long time because I don't remember. It's been, I think it's been at least 10 years since I've used anything but all cotton. But the acrylic just isn't going to be as absorbed, and it isn't going to absorb as well as cotton will. All right, now let's see. How did I do this time? Oh, this one's right on. Now, it may be because I'm able to butt up against that, but yeah, the ½ inch is right along the way. All right, and so then we still go to 2 1/4 from the seam. Don't let the ruler move. And I move the ruler again. All right. So now these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6½ inches by 5 inches. This piece, oh, here, let's go back here. There we go. This piece will not work, but this piece will work in a purse strap. So we keep that. That's gonna work. Let's see, yep, that'll work. And then here, this one's gonna be too big. Move that over there for the time being. Actually, let's put all of this over here for the time being. Until we get a cat that comes visiting and she wants to sit in the box, then we'll move things around. But for right now, it'll live right over there. All right, so that one works there. And that works there. Okay. And where are my scissors? I feel like for some reason I should have changed the batteries in my microphone, so I'm probably going to be checking them a lot today. Okay, there's one. And I am not cutting all the way to the fabric. I am cutting close to the fabric, but not all the way to the fabric. We will take care of that later. Okay, now we've got our fabric pieces right sides together, and then we have our batting on the bottom. So 3 layers. Here we go. 1 fabric face to face, and then the batting on the back. And now we're going to sew them with a 1/4 inch seam. And the 1/4 inch seam is going to be from the edge of the fabric, not from the edge of the batting. And if you are so inclined, you may put on your walking foot at this point. I'm not going to be messing with it because I'm just going to be going back and forth all day, since we're going to not be making a ton of these at one time. All right, so to do this, the way I like to do it is I start on the edge and I stitch in a 1/4 inch. I need to put my stitch length back up to 2.5. I knew I was forgetting something. All right, so there I'm about a 1/4 inch in. And I'm going to turn and then sew my 1/4 inch. Oops, I'm not a 1/4 inch in. I'm a 1/4 inch in from the batting, but not from the fabric, so. All right, let's get rid of all this mess. Try it again. All right, now, nope, one more. There we go, 1/4 of an inch in. And then stitch down to the corner. And turn. Remember, on corners, you're not going to go all the way to the edge of the fabric. You're going to go to 1/4 of an inch still in. And on my machine, I have the foot here that tells me where 1/4 of an inch is. So that's convenient. If you don't have that, you can use a pen or something else so you can mark where that 1/4 of an inch is. I've got a couple seams here, so I want to make sure my machine goes over all right. So now we're going to be about an inch away, about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, you know, it depends on how far you want to go, from where we did that, went in and over. And we're going to turn, and we're going to stitch all the way off the fabric now. Now I'm going to show you this on the close-up so you can see what I'm talking about. This is the fabric. This is the batting. So here I stitched in, and then I turned and I went to the corner, 1/4 inch from the corner, and then down and stitched all the way around. And when I got back up to where I began, I stitched in for a little while, and then I did then I stitched off the edge of the fabric. All right. So now I need a bigger ruler. I'm going to take my ruler and set my line on the seam that I stitched, and trim this off to 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to do that all the way around, all 4 sides. And this is why you don't have to have the batting the exact size you need it, because we trim it all down. Okay, there we go. And since we are going to be turning this right side out, we need to get rid of the batting that's in this center area. That's why I like to cut or like to stitch that out, because I know exactly where I'm cutting at. So I'm just cutting the batting. I'm not cutting the fabric. The fabric is staying right there. And then just like we do with anything else we're going to turn out, we cut at an angle as close to the stitching. Come on, you can focus. No, you can. Whee! Come on. So cut an angle as close to the corner stitching as you can get, but do not cut through the stitching. You take the between the two pieces of fabric that are right side together, and you turn your fabric right side out. Now I did not at the beginning and end of my stitching, and I'm feeling it come apart a little bit. So I use my pinky. You can use a chopstick. They sell tools, so if you have some great desire to spend money on it, you can buy the tool. And I guess if you're making a ton of them, it might be something that's worth your while, but I would think that the chopstick works just as well. I say that and I don't have one up here, but I just tend to use my finger and go from there. Okay, so we've turned it all right side out, and the reason we cut the batting down was so that we could fold the 1/4 inch seam over to be able to seal up the turning, the opening that we used for turning. Now, since I use all cotton stuff, I can iron this, and I am going to do that. If, on the other hand, you use acrylic batting, there's a possibility that it won't press well. So you want to, and it could, conceivably, it could melt. I've heard tell of that. I've never seen it happen, but I've heard tell that it could. You just want to make certain that you're not going to have a problem with things melting in the future. And like I said, cotton's better anyway because of the fact that it will soak up the moisture, which is kind of the purpose of a coaster. Okay. So some of the threads are trying to pop through. I'm going to trim those up. But now let's do the second one. All right, same situation. Start at the edge. And I am actually going to do the knot at it, on it. So I'm going to knot at the beginning. Sew in 1/4 of an inch. That's not quite 1/4 of an inch. Nope, one more. There we go. Alright, why does my machine think that we're out of bobbin thread? Because it's out on one side. Alright, well, let's see. One time I'm going along and it doesn't tell me I'm out of bobbin thread. Now I'm nowhere near out of bobbin thread and it tells me that I am. This machine just wants to give me a headache. And my machine does allow me to wind the bobbin from the needle. Your machine may not. No, that's not caught. There we go. And always turn down your speed when winding a bobbin. Do not do it at the fastest speed. back, we go over here. There we go. And ruler, 1/4 inch. Okay. Trim my opening. And go between the right sides of the 2 pieces of fabric. Oh, almost forgot to cut my corners. And if you don't clip the corners like that, what's going to happen is your corners are going to be hard to push out. And they won't be sharp and pointy. Well, it's not like these are all that sharp and pointy anyway. They're pretty. But again, there's a tool if you want to get it to make them as sharp as you can. For what these are, I'm not terribly concerned. They're coasters. I mean, you should pay attention and do your best with everything you make. There's the black. I'm like, where is the darker piece of fabric? I probably could have used my darker piecing thread. Instead of using the off-white, I've got a light gray that I use for darker colors, darker fabrics, but I think we'll be okay. Okay, there we go. And now we fold the fabric in under, so we get our 1/4 inch seam. Fold it under. And again, that's why we cut that batting, so we have the ability to fold that over. And then we're going to press it. All right, so we now have 2 mug rugs. And these have the ability to have a spot for a drink and a spot for a little bit of a snack, whether it's a little cookie or something like that, a piece of bread. So that's our first coaster. The second one I feel like I'm missing one. Oh. No. Yeah. I stapled 2 together. There we go. Insulbrite. That's the heat resistant stuff. It's written down here. Okay. So this one calls for 5 4-inch squares. You will need 3 of one fabric and 2 of another. Okay, so let's switch over to our Thanksgiving, or yeah, we'll go with these are Thanksgiving. Some of them are just fall, some of them are Thanksgiving. So I need 3 of one fabric and 2 of another. I don't know. I have 4 of those. That will work. Do I have 2 of these? Oh, you can't see what I'm doing. Let me turn the camera on. There we go. Okay. So I have 4 of these. I only have 1 of these. Let's see if I can find another. Well, I have 4 of these. That's a pumpkin, so we'll put that over there. That's Thanksgiving. That's just fall. That says Happy Thanksgiving on it. That's Thanksgiving. Those are more pumpkins. That's fall. That goes with that. There's actually 4 and 2, so that they're pretty much the same fabric. So let's see if I can find stuff that isn't absolutely identical. Maybe a little contrast in it. This might work. There's 2 of these. There's some contrast there. I like that. There's 3 of those. There's 3 of those. Only 2 of that. Let's see. Goes over there. And there's actually 4 of those, so. All right, let's see here. I could do, I like that. So let's do 2 of these and 3, 1, 2, 3 of these. All right. That's number 1. Those are pumpkins. Now, there's only 1 light. That's a problem. And I don't have any lights at all, anything that's light over there. Let's see. That's green. Is there enough contrast in that? Yeah, I think with this being green, that'll work. Okay, and these are supposed to be 4-inch squares. Let's see, I need 2 light and 1, 2, 3 dark. Okay, so that's that. And then let's see if I can get them stacked reasonably well. Okay. And I am going to trim off an edge. As I've said before, these are the places where I wish I had one of those mats that rotates, but I just can't justify doing it, spending that much money. Okay, make sure we're square on the bottom. And then trim off just a bit off the side so that we're all even. And now we're going to trim it to actually be 4 inches. And of course I shifted some fabric. Okay, make sure all of your edges are squared. And now we're going to go to 4 inches. So we're square up this corner. So this corner down here is going to be square. We've got a straight line going here and a straight line going here, right along the 4 inches. And then last but not least, square it up. Okay, so that's one stack. And then I'm going to use, let's see, I'm going to go with, this will be the 2, and this will be the 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, the first cut doesn't matter. We're squaring it up. We're going to cut off enough around the sides that it doesn't matter. Turn. Second cut, we make sure that we're aligned on the bottom. And now we cut to 4 inches. Making sure we are square on the 2 sides that we've already cut. And now we have 3 sides that we can square up. All right, 2 coasters. There we go. That's even better. So if you want to, you can use the exact same fabric, obviously. I'm using up what I have. Mine are scraps. There we go. All right, let's see. What does it say to do next? This is from Cindy Kromminga, Kromminga, and her website is favecrafts.com, FAVECRAFTS.com. Fold 1 square in half with the right side facing out. Iron the fold. Repeat on a matching square and 2 of the other squares. Okay. There we go. So one of these is going to be the bottom. So the piece that we used, the fabric that we used that we cut 3 squares, that's going to be the bottom. So the third one goes there. And the third one goes there. The rest of these are all going to get ironed, pressed, whatever term you want to use, with their wrong sides together. So the opposite of what we normally do. So over to the iron I go. Match up your corners. And press. I was going to get water and it's empty. So that does me no good. I am going to spray these because later on these are going to be used to twist in the wine bottom. And if you have like a whiskey glass or anything that's got a round bottom to it, with a stem, any stemware glass, this is going to work for those glasses. I mean, they'll work for regular glasses too, but they have a special feature for stemmed glasses. So this next fabric coming up is directional, and I'm going to fold it so that the words and everything are upright, and when I get over to putting things together, I want to make sure that I have those upright. I already did that once. I didn't need to do it a second time. Doesn't matter either way. I thought I saw that it would look nicer if it was pressed one way or the other. It really didn't matter. Okay. So back over here. Nope, that's not what I wanted. There we go. That's what I wanted. Place total of 4 pressed squares that are now shaped like rectangles. Yes. Place the remaining unfolded square on your work surface with the right side facing up, which I have done. Got these two, was it that way? Yep, that way. Okay. So now we have these 2 squares. With the raw edges of the rectangle aligned with the raw edges of the square, work around the square. Place 1 rectangle on each edge, turning the square 1/4 turn after the placement of each rectangle. Insert the end of the last rectangle under the end of the first. Okay. So what it's saying is we're going to take one piece and place it down here. And we're going to take one of these. Let's do it that way so we're consistent. And I'm going to look. I like this pumpkin, so I'm going to place that right side down so that it shows up, hopefully, on the outside of. Let's make sure. Yeah. Okay. Now the next thing. So we're going to turn them 1/4 turn. We're going to take one of the other fabrics, not the one you just put down, but the other one. And I'm going to look, and I like that, so I'm going to place that over the top. That one's going to go there. And now this one, I like the way that came out. And those are upside down. So I don't want those showing. So those will show on this side. Because we're going to turn the whole thing right side out when we're done. 1/4 inch turn. We'll go back to here. That's the side that faces upright. And I like that side better. So I'm going to place it face down. Quarter turn. Here's the trickiest part. We're going to place this one here. And since this was the first one we did, it's on the bottom, lift that up and place this underneath. And we're going to have to fuss with this a little bit when we get to the sewing machine, because we'll be taking the clips off. All right, so this one, lift that up. That side goes down. And then the raw edges. So now we have our two put together. Really? All right, so this person tells you to just sew them as it is. I don't like that. I need batting. And I have two straight edges on this batting, so I'm going to just cut it. And since this, well, actually I could have used this ruler because it's exactly 4 inches, but oh well. Now I need 8 inches in. Did I make it? I didn't. There we go. And then 4. All right, so now we know where everything's going to be placed. We need to straighten it all out. And put this on top of it. And it would not have hurt if I had done that 4.5 instead of 4. I probably should have, but wasn't thinking. There's one. And then let's get this one straight. And it would not hurt anything if you basted these pieces together before you align them with the batting. When I first started making these, I did do that. I basted the fabric all together and then sewed the batting on. This particular coaster is the only one I've made before. I didn't use a pattern. I had seen it somewhere and I just went with it. Over to the machine. Now again, we are going to need to have a turning spot. Oh, no we won't. Never mind. I lied. I forgot. This one doesn't need to have a turn because we're going to turn through the squares on the top. Alright, I typically start towards the center. I don't start on the edge, and I am going to use my knots at the beginning and the end, so if you don't have that feature on your machine, you want to back tack a little bit. Okay, there's one. Now this one was a little more challenging to line up, so I'm hoping it doesn't get too messed up. All right. Okay. So I made like 50 of these for a party over 10 years ago. Did some embroidery on them, and then made these things. I found that trimming it down to about 1/8 of an inch gives you a better turn. Everything's not quite as bulky. I would never try and sew at 1/8 of an inch, especially with batting and stuff in here. But trimming it down just makes it so that you don't have nearly as much puff in the back. And then just like anything else, when you're going to turn it, you want to clip your corners. And then you've got this opening where all of this fabric overlapped. I know what I did differently when I did them. I used 2 layers of fabric. All right, now see what we're going to get. I know what I did wrong. I knew something wasn't feeling right about it, but I couldn't remember what it was. Again, been a long time. And the pattern that this person created, I mean, like I said, these have been around for ages, and it's not anything new or different. The part that she didn't do was she didn't have batting included in it, which I really don't like the idea of not having batting. I also think these are small. But here's the problem with this particular pattern. When you put the glass in, you turn your glass in and you twist it in so that the bottom under the stem sticks out here and the bottom of the glass sits there. There's batting right there that you can see. When I made these before, what I did was I put another layer of fabric. So, like I said, I knew something was wrong with this pattern. I just couldn't figure out what was off. I knew I'd figure it out as soon as I started using it again, or using it. All right, and then turn it right side out. And you really don't need to have worry about the seam because it is inside. And that's why I trim it down to 1/8 of an inch, so you've got plenty of room. You're not going to notice that seam. You know, even if, unless you open it up and turn it right side out, no one's going to notice that there's a seam in there. And again, these seem small to me. I think I probably used a 5-inch seam, or a 5-inch square instead of a 4-inch square like this one does. They seem just a little small to me, but I guess you don't need a huge for a wine glass. Let's see. All right. So this next one, which is the same thing but slightly different, does use a 5-inch square. And like I said, I'm fairly confident that I used 5-inch squares when I did this before. But all right, so we need to get these pressed. This corner just does not want to go out. I don't know what its problem is. Okay. Yeah, it's going to take a while to warm up. Okay. Let's use, and I need 6 5-inch squares. See, this one uses 6. So I think I want this for the bottom that can be seen. And how many fabrics do I have? I have 1, 2, 3. I have 4 fabrics. Excellent. And so then inside, it's going to be the outside. That's going to, let's use this as the inside. All right, do we have enough to do? We do not. Dang. None of these are big enough. No, they are not. All right, so we're not using these. But we have big pieces. And do we have all 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. I didn't know I was ordering the exact same thing. All right, so I need to trim this edge. Let's see, have we heated up? Yes. And I could fussy cut. I'm not going to. So to get 2 coasters, I need 2 of all 4. And 2 of another 2. Okay. There are those 2. this is a 6-inch square. So I'm going to put it down. Oh, sorry. Here we go. I am going to put it down on the 5-inch line. And now I am going to put this on top. And I'm squaring it up, which I really don't need to, but I'm going to anyway, just a little bit. And there we go. Okay, so now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ooh, almost. Let's see. We trim this off as close to the edge. I'm still not going to get it to work, but I'm going to try my darndest. So cut off the fold. Line up to 5 inches. Nope, too small. Okay, let's see here then. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that cut out really. Look at that. That's cool. All right, that's going to be my bottom. It's going to be my inside. That's what I thought. Okay, now this one is doing something slightly different, but still the same as what I liked before. No, I'm sorry. So I'm going to keep this, do these. I'm going to take the top and the bottom, or I should say the inside and the outside. So this is going to be inside our coaster, and this is going to be the outside. No one's ever really going to see the bottom because nobody usually looks at the bottom, but hey. And what they want me to do is quilt these together, which is a bit silly and a bit extreme, but hey, if that's what they want me to do, I'm going to do it. Now, I am going to switch thread on this one. and I do want to switch needles too. This is a universal needle. It's been on here for quite a while, so I'm going to make it go away. And put a quilting needle on here. All right. Now, the batting that I'm using can have a distance of 10 inches between quiltings. So it does not need to be quilted at all. But I'm going to do it because that's what it said in the directions, and I want to see, I see no reason not to because it might turn out pretty cool. And it says to do the hashtag, or crosshatch, that's what I meant. That's probably going to be good. I increased my stitch length to 3.5, and I'm going to start in the corner and go to the other corner. All right, that was just weird. Oh, I see what's going on. That's not going to work. It's going to have to be that far. Okay. So the screw kept hitting my guide thing here. So that wasn't going to work. Alright, so now I want the guide to go along what the line I just stitched. And how close can I get it? I can get it there. Okay. And now that I've done it one direction, now I'm going to go back the other way. So I turn it around and just go the other direction. And the last one going this way. Now I'm going to go corner to corner on this side. And do the same crosshairs. And last sides here. Yeah, that didn't work. So the thread slipped out of the needle because I started off the fabric and the thread got caught in the fabric. That's why you use starter fabric or feeder fabric or whatever term you want to use, because if you start off the fabric, it tends to cause issues. Let's see, where am I at? I'm going this way. Okay, last crosshair. Oh! Sorry, hold on a minute. There we go. So if I had my dithers and I was making this myself, this pattern myself, I would have made this square probably 5.5 by 5.5 and then trimmed it down, because with all these strings and everything hanging off the sides, I really want to get it trimmed up. And whenever you quilt, there's a chance that things are going to go out of whack. So this is probably no longer 5 inches by 5 inches. But I do know a step that we are going to be doing shortly, so I'm going to stick with it and believe that it'll work out in the end. All right. To follow the directions, what does it say to do next? Oh, this says to make triangles, not rectangles. All right. So this time, instead of sewing them up or folding them this way, we're going to fold them this way and press. Too much starch. And I have not made it with them at an angle like this. I'm grasping the concept. It's going to work very similar to the rectangle version, but I have to say this is not something I have done before. Right, and here's the last one. The catch is going to be trying to make sure that I don't have the ones that are too like each other next to each other. It's like this one and the one that I just ironed both have candy on them. So I don't want them next to each other. All right. All right. So this is going to be the bottom. I don't want to mess with that one. I want it to stay that way. So that one's going to go that way. Let's see. So it says to leave it off about 1/4 of an inch. And then layer this one next. See, but now I'm going to have these two next to each other. I don't think I like that. That's going to happen no matter what I do. Because that one's going to have to go there and here. Now, the hole in the center here is way too big in my opinion. So I need to put them further in. Okay, let's see. Let's use this one next. And we've got the center lines because the hash marks. So lining it up. Okay. And then just like with the last one, the first one down gets lifted up, and the last one goes underneath it. I did this wrong. When I turn it out, the orange is going to be on the outside, and that's not the way I want it. I want the bat on the outside. Okay, now I am going to baste this together. I'm not going to sew it down permanently. Well, I'm doing it permanently, but I'm basting. So I'm going to use a larger stitch. I've already got 3.5, so I'm actually going to increase it to 4.5. I probably should have done this with the batting on the top, in fact, because we already know that the fabric is sticking out. Okay, so we started there, we'll go there. And we are just basting, so it's not a major deal. All right, so we've basted. That's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. We've basted it together so everything's going to stay in place. Alright, and now you're going to find one of these old things that you have lying around somewhere. And we're going to take a, in this case, Frixon pen, but any writing utensil that you can find, and draw around the CD. Or actually, I think this is a DVD, but it doesn't really matter. Same idea. Alright, so now I have a circle. And if you'd rather, I have a compass. I could have used that too. Either way would have worked. And this was why I was saying I wasn't terribly concerned about the edges, because I knew that we were doing this circle. I also think that 5 inches might have been too small. But let's sew on the line and see how it comes out. Alright, put my stitch length back down to 2.5, which is standard length. I'm not going to change out my needle or anything like that. And I am, oh, excuse me, I am going to fix and stop my stitches so that I have the seam knotted off at either side. So. And if circles scare you, just take your time. It's not a race. Now, I have seen that there's a gadget for sewing circles. I don't own it, but I have seen it somewhere. It attaches to the machine, and then you like put a pin or something in the middle, and then somehow you end up with a circle. I'm coming to the end, so I'm going to knot my thread. Okay. And now it says to trim. There we go. Trim around the circle. At about 1/4 of an inch, which I'm never very good at. And keep in mind that the seam that you're cutting right now is going to be inside the circle, so no one will see it. Okay, so that got rid of that. And now, just like with the other one, we turn it right side out. I missed a spot. Okay, let's press, trying to cover up that spot that got missed. So I'm going to start at that point. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take all of our coasters and we're going to top stitch them. And now I have a special foot. It's called a top stitching foot. And are we close enough? This toe sits lower than this toe, so this one sits higher. So the fabric is going to glide right along here. So I do that, and now I'm going to move my needle over as far as it'll go. And I'm going to start with these, and I'm going to make sure that I get that closed, that opening where we did our turning. One more stitch. There we go. Okay, there's one. Let's do this one next. let's do the square ones. I did not. Here we go. Trim these off. There we go. And this square one. Almost done. And last but not least, our circle. And I am going to go from the bottom this time, just because of the way it overlaps. Alrighty, so let's go over to the detail camera and zoom in and talk about what we've done. So these were our first two, and like I said, they have the ability to have a drink at one point and like a snack or something off to the side. If you want to do additional quilting, you can, and depending upon the batting you're using, you may need to. Mine can have 10 inches between stitches or between quilting, so I know I'm perfectly fine with the way they are. But this would be a spot where if you're you're crafty enough or talented enough, you could draw yourself a spider and quilt a spider in here. Same thing here, except this time you would do a bat. So these are very simple. They took us like an hour, and remember, I talk, so that could be part of what took so long. These started out as 4-inch squares and gave us our where we can put the stem in, and we've got the different, these happen to be Thanksgiving versions. Like I said, I think these are kind of small. I don't know if my wine glasses would fit in these or not. I'd always done it before with 5-inch squares, and you do need 6 squares because you need something to cover up the batting inside. And then last but not least was the one that was different but the same. You did the pieces at an angle, which I guess if we were keeping it a square would have made a difference, but because it's a circle, it looks just the same. It didn't matter that we did it at an angle. They overlap just the same. I was able to get the cat in the tree on the back. I don't know if it needed as much quilting as I gave it. I know the batting didn't need it, but I'm not certain. I don't know if it made that much of a difference to the look. Since I did a circle, it actually might have been more interesting to do like a swirl. But with the cat, I like the cat being there, so that's pretty cool. And then on the sides, the overlap, the reason I stitched it, did the top stitch from the bottom, was because you'll see that you can see the fabric from the top. And that way from the top, you don't see any of the background fabric. Excuse me. The technique used in multiple locations, but all right, so we ended up with 3 different types of coasters and 2 hours 15 minutes. If I hadn't been demonstrating, I could have probably knocked these out a lot faster. Excuse me. So get your fabric together and sorry, let's do that. Get your scrap fabric together, any charm packs that you've got extras of. I know, I'm trying to think, I made something that you all saw that I used. Ooh, almost stepped on my chair, or I did step on my chair, I should say. I used these different fabrics, charm packs, and I've still got a bunch of them left. So probably going to be making some of these coasters or mug rugs or whatever you want to call them out of some of that. And just it's a great way to use up your scraps, these coasters. And like I said, you've seen me use over the past month, I've been using the Halloween and the fall and Thanksgiving fabrics. So now you see what I do with the extra pieces that are left over. So thank you all for visiting with me today. We will see you all next time. The next show is, I believe, the Veterans Day where I'm planning on trying to do pinwheels. So it'll be something a little bit different and interesting. Maybe not the pinwheels, maybe this post with the, yeah, one of those two things is going to happen. I'm just not certain which one is going to happen, because I have all the fabric I need to make it. I just haven't decided which pattern I'm going to use to do it. So have a great rest of your day. We'll see you all